Imagine this, too pretty to rob. That's what a man called a woman hours after he allegedly did rob her, and he did so at gunpoint.
All right, I mean, come on, guys. You know I had to 100% cover a story like this because it's absolutely absurd in every possible way, and with a local news intro like that, I'm on board. I'm in. Pump this Indianapolis nonsense into my vein because apparently a criminal decided to commit an armed robbery against a woman, and after taking money from this woman, he asked for her Facebook contact information and then was arrested by the police after he proposed a date with her. This actually happened. This is a thing that occurred, and we need to talk about it because it turns out criminals are actually really stupid, and you should know that. Now, before we get into this absolutely wonderful story that entertained me in every possible way, I just want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to my podcast listeners on Apple, Spotify, and Google's podcasting platform. But without further ado, let's hear this story, this Romeo and Juliet level romance. Let's get into it because I need to know what went down here and whether or not we actually discovered true love.
Police say last month, outside of a home on Harlan Street on Indy's southeast side, a woman was out checking her mail around 4 o'clock in the morning after her work shift when a man, police later identified as Damian Boyce, approached her, pointed a gun at her, and stole $100 in cash from her.
Okay, so the premise is pretty simple in this story. We have an incident where a woman comes home from a late shift. By the way, always nice to hear that somebody's actually working in a city that's falling apart due to crime. Then she goes out to check her mail at 4 a.m. on her way, presumably back in her house, and then a man approaches her. The man approaches her with a firearm, and he demands money from her. But then that's where things get a little bit different from the typical tales that we usually tell on the Actual Justice Warrior YouTube channel, podcast, Rumble, whatever.
Afterwards, Boyce allegedly asked the victim, with the gun still pointed at her, if she had a boyfriend, and then asked if she would add him on Facebook.
I'm sorry, but that is unbelievably bold. He has the gun pointed at her still, and he's like, now that you've given me your money, now that you're in fear of death, you single? You available? Cause you kind of cute. You kind of attractive. I kind of want to get to know you. And I know this is a weird meet cute, but you know what? This will be a great story to tell your grandkids because I'm going to peace out as soon as I knock you up. Trust me, in the future of how you met the man that fathered whichever kid ended up giving you a grandkid. Absolutely absurd, but again, I guess credit for credit is due because this could have been way worse when this criminal decided that she was attractive. He could have instead tried to use the gun to obtain sexual favors from her, but in this instance, he only wanted some contact information so he could hit this girl up later because he has some principles and he respects the boundaries of consent. Not when it comes to, taking money from people, but at least when it comes to some categories, this guy is a stand-up guy, somebody to bring home to your family, and guess what? If you're thinking shotgun wedding, he's already armed and ready to point the gun at the woman in order to get her to do what he wants.
Court records show Boyce pointed out his profile to the victim and watched her at him, saying he would pay the money he stole back to her. He then fled the scene on a bicycle.
So little bit of disclosure to you guys who are watching this on the internet.com. So I actually received a short excerpt of this story, something that was about 30 seconds long, where I saw the woman, I got the rundown, and then my brother sent me over this longer news clip, and this is the first time that I'm watching it as I'm cutting between my reactions and the clips. So this story just gets so much funnier as it goes on, and this local news segment should be in the Hall of Fame for comedy gold. This guy points a gun at a woman, takes $100 from her, thinks she's kind of cute, asks if she has a boyfriend. She says, no, I don't have a boyfriend. So then he's like, yo, add me on Facebook, and then he watches as she requests him so that he can hit her up later, by the way, revealing his name, his identity, and all of that to the person that he's robbing. But to be a gentleman, he says, don't worry, I'm going to pay you back. And then he flees on a bicycle as if the comedy gold couldn't get any more golden. If only that bicycle were an electric city bike, this story would be all of the notes at the same time and absolutely wonderful.
The probable cause affidavit shows that same day the two exchanged Facebook messages. Boyce saying, look, just know I'ma pay you back. It's an expletive way to meet, but expletive. You is too pretty to rob. The victim replied, I believe you, man. I could tell you're sweet. Times just get rough. I know that.
So again, I'm reacting to this for you guys fresh for the first time, and I've never seen these messages before. So for this guy to say it's an effed up way to meet after I gave the setup that he was going to pitch this as a meet cute is absolutely amazing. And again, guy, I appreciate you trying to put yourself out there. I appreciate that even though you've fallen on tough times, according to Emma Vigeland, you were just desperate, a poor Aladdin who needed help in society, but you still are willing to find love. But maybe this is not the best thing to do to somebody you just committed an armed robbery against. Maybe, just maybe, and call me crazy, an employed woman who's coming home from her shift at 4 a.m. and gets robbed by you at gunpoint, who you forced to add you on Facebook, is not going to be interested in a date with you because presumably when it goes south, your violent tendencies, like, pointing a gun at women, would likely be an issue going forward in the relationship.
Boyce sent more, saying, I feel like a total expletive. I swear I got you. What's your Cash App tag? Or you could send it when I'm ready.
Aw, this is honestly like the sweetest series of messages ever. And you would think of all the people that he robbed, it wouldn't be some random girl in Indianapolis. It would actually be Emma Vigeland, who would be like, why don't you come by and take more money from me because you're such an innocent, honest, kind-hearted Aladdin. Listen to how progressive this woman is. And of course, unfortunately, this is ultimately going to lead to his arrest because this woman is honey trapping a guy who robbed her for $100 at gunpoint because this guy is so stupid that he thinks it's a cool meet cute to have with her.
Then continued, for real, I'm expletive. We had to meet up on them terms. Come chill with me. I swear I'm not on that type of timing.
This may be the greatest exchange of Facebook messages that ever occurred in any possible way. First of all, I noticed that this guy's an overtexter. I don't know if you guys know this. Listen, I haven't dated in a while. I've been engaged and all that. But when you meet a girl, you don't want to flood her with too many messages. It could be legitimately and honestly that this gal was into it. But the thing is, he didn't wait for responses. He just kept messaging and messaging and messaging, only talking about himself, never asking how she was doing. And if he would have asked how she was doing, maybe he could have gotten an insight into her personality in the fact that she might have felt terrified when a man, being him, pointed a gun at her face and demanded that he add her on Facebook after demanding money from her. But I do love the fact that he was like, oh man, hard times. Yeah, you're right. It's tough out there. You're so pretty. You're too pretty to rob. Don't worry. Send me your Cash App so I can be more digitally tied to you so the police can have a much easier time than they already have at this moment making an arrest for the armed robbery that I committed against you. Did I mention you're so pretty? You're too pretty to rob? This is a guy who, by the way, is definitely on that simp level. He saw a girl, a target, somebody he was willing to kill for money, or at least threaten to kill for money, but then all of a sudden, he's treating her like an e-girl. All of a sudden, he's like, yo, what are your links? Let me send you the money. And he's hoping the girl is gonna pull an Anna Kasparian and say,
give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
The victim replied, I do have a man. You know I can't do that, LOL. I wish you the best, though.
What did I just say? What did I just tell you? He over-messaged, they were flirting back and forth, they had the cool meet cute, they had a story to tell their grandparents. It was like a Romeo and Juliet type situation, but then he over-texted it. Then he messed up. He talked a little bit too much, didn't focus on her, and all of a sudden, the excuse that we've all heard many different times before of I have a boyfriend came out. She dropped the line on him, she friend zoned him, she criminal zoned him, she essentially locked him in jail both metaphorically and definitely literally because this of course resulted in his arrest, and it was all due to the fact that he had poor game. I'm all for an approach, I'm all for a bold way to introduce yourself to a woman, but sticking a gun in her face and demanding her money at 4 a.m. maybe a little bit too far. That is kind of creative, I get it, you're trying to manufacture a meet cute and all that, you want to talk about how she softened your hardened heart and all that and hardened other things that were soft. Yes, I went there, but the thing is, this really doesn't sell when you don't close the deal. This really doesn't sell when you start going over Facebook Messenger. Honestly, what I think would have been a little bit bolder if he would have actually asked for her number, because honestly, you ask your cousin for her Facebook contact information and given her a call and given her his pitch over the phone, because you know what? In 2023, the modern era, people don't call each other that much. It's not something thing that people want to do, and he could have really distinguished himself from the other criminals, from the other armed robbers in the neighborhood by taking that little bit of extra initiative. But more importantly, he could have just listened to her. But more importantly, he could have just not robbed her.
Court records show Boyce was charged with armed robbery Wednesday. Court records also show Boyce was arrested and charged in a separate incident last week for robbery resulting in bodily injury and battery by means of a deadly weapon, amongst other charges.
That two-timing MFer. I cannot believe that the character of robbers is just so out of whack in current year. This guy meets a girl. He has a special meet-cute approach. It seems like it's spontaneous. It seems like it's forming a connection that we just don't quite understand. Something of the movies, something of epic romances. And what do we find out? This isn't his first time. What do we find out? He's actually met other people this way. He's actually used that same pickup artist technique with other females. How dare he? And obviously, he cared more and was more passionate about that relationship because that charge wasn't just a straight up robbery, it was also a battery with a firearm. So there was more passion and romance in there, and this girl just was not feeling it. She was just not into it, and women can tell when you're not putting 100% of your effort into things, when you're not really showing who you are, they can tell that there's something beneath the surface. And sometimes when you're not intriguing enough, guess what? They're not going to want to look beneath the surface. So this guy, honestly, totally messed up, 100% against him. He's totally flipped me. The woman was right to put him in the jail that is friend zone, and actual literal jail because he is a criminal, make no mistake about it, because he's just a two-timing mean person.
In that incident, he allegedly shot 2 people and hit someone else in the head with a brick. Boyce is due in court Thursday afternoon.
Okay, so remember what I said earlier on about recording this video as like a live reaction or a pseudo live reaction to the clips that I'm seeing for the first time? This is one of the reasons why it is not ideal to do that, because this was a fun story about a romance, and then I find out that this guy attempted 2 murders, maybe 3 murders, because he also hit somebody with a brick, and for some reason is just being charged with battery with a deadly weapon. I'm gonna need some more serious charges for this guy who quite literally would have shot this woman if the circumstances were slightly different. Now look, while I like this lengthier news segment with more additional information that actually talks about how this person, even though this is a kind of funny story, is in fact a dangerous criminal, and I'm happy that he's off the streets, the fact of the matter is, some of the most important information was completely omitted from this news segment. And of course, you guys know exactly what that is, which is, if this girl was too pretty to rob, how come we have not seen this girl? How come we don't know the standards of this armed robber going forward so we can have an image of our head of what actually led to this person's downfall?
The suspect is accused of taking $100 from her after then, strangely, asking her out on a date.
I thought maybe if I added him on Facebook, that would be it, and he'd leave, and he did. But then he continued to message me on Facebook.
Okay, so this is in fact Amber, the woman who was too pretty to rob, and I'm engaged, I'm in a relationship, so I'm not gonna judge other women based on their appearance. That's for you disgusting misogynists out there in my audience. But what I will say is, even though I'm totally not into the piercings in general, if I were a single person, there's a cuteness about her. There's a bubbliness in her voice. She seems like she has a positive attitude, and considering the fact that a hardened criminal who shot 2 people found her so attractive that he made mistakes in order to get himself arrested, I'm 100% in favor of Amber. I'm on board with her, I appreciate her, I support her, and more importantly, I'm proud of her for rejecting the advances, even though they clearly and obviously had a beautiful and wonderful, stunning meet cute. So that's gonna be my opinion on it. If you guys say mean things about my best friend Amber, then you will be banished from this channel. How dare you try to do that? But yeah, this guy was simping hard, and guess what? That's gonna lead to some hard time. I'm sorry for that pun. I apologize for that. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, yes, show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. You can follow me on all my social medias. They're linked in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an absurd robbery story, a tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast. Till next time.